Although it was incorporated in 1881, the origins of the Chamber of Commerce in Lexington have been traced back to 1797, when John Postlethwaite convened a meeting of the Lexington Society for the Promotion of Emigration. For Commerce Lexington, it's a story that started over 130 years ago. The actual meeting minutes reflect that the Chamber Board of Directors met for the first time on November 11, 1881, in the President's Room of the First National Bank. The Chamber offices were formally opened on December 8, 1881. Among the earliest activities included a Lexington delegation's visit in 1884 to Louisville to boost collaboration and trade between the cities, and a reciprocal visit by Louisville officials that same year. Today, that collaboration has been heightened as regional economies depend more and more on each other.
The two executive committees of the Chamber began to meet, and today we have the BEAM Initiative, which is the Bluegrass Economic Advanced Manufacturing Initiative, a benefit between the two communities. And I think that was the precursor to beginning to establish a relationship between the two communities. And these two communities have to work together. These two cities have to work together for the betterment of this state, because this whole state survives based upon the economic development of Louisville and Lexington.
In tough times, that's when you really need to think outside of the box and create something new, I think. And so the regional tour was developed kind of out of the Chamber taking trips years and years, decades before. It's somewhat similar to the governor's tours or political tours when for campaigns. But it was really just reaching out as a region to other regions around the state and putting an extreme focus that first year on eastern Kentucky.
In the early 1900s, the Chamber considered issues like water, housing, traffic, taxes, coal, transportation, sanitary sewers, fire protection, and efforts to attract a creamery, a dairy packaging company, buggy and spoke manufacturing plants, and even an oil refinery. Since its beginning, the Chamber of Commerce has been focused on recruiting new companies to the area while enhancing the existing businesses that call Lexington home.
We had just formed Lexington United. There were 4 or 5 different groups, all of which several of us thought were all doing the same thing, whether it was downtown development or whatever. And so we formed a group called Lexington United to try to combine everything into one area. That then ended up becoming Commerce Lexington, which of course is the Chamber today. Lexington United was very, very important in the fact that it had the full backing of the then Mayor Scotty Bassler, who was a very strong mayor. And one of the things we immediately did was to go to work on the enactment of getting the legislature to agree on a 1% room tax that Lexington only could do, but the legislature had to approve it, and we got that done, which in turn caused us to be able to have the kind of money that we were able to spend to help host the 1985 NCAA Final Four.
Chamber board members reinvigorated the Lexington Industrial Foundation in the early 1990s, which in turn provided the funding to bolster economic development efforts by creating a standalone Lexington United.
We hope to be able to hire someone strictly for economic development in Lexington. And so that was the issue. We had a retreat about economic development. There were several prior chairmen that were on the board, and I remember Don Webb was one of them, and others, but they were all very concerned about where Lexington was going. We had not been recruiting, really doing that much recruiting, and the idea was to get economic development started as a separate entity, apart from the city or the chamber. I think everybody realized we needed to try to get more active.
No matter what the economy is doing, education has been a priority for the Chamber of Commerce for decades, whether it's advocating for better facilities or supporting efforts to improve the achievement levels of all students.
Yeah, I think that was a critical time for us because there was quite a bit of angst between some of our school system administrators and community leaders all wanting to do the right thing for our kids and for our community. But it was a chance for us to work as one, as the chamber, to try to make sure there was a good partnership between all parties involved so that we can move our community forward. At that time, there was a national initiative on closing the achievement gap. We just took that to the next level and really focused some energy around that for our community. And out of that came a great plan and a committee that worked on raising the standards for all of our kids.
There was another part of the education system, though, that I felt strongly about, and that was that we needed to have a better town-gown relationship. And I was able to go to the university, to the new dean of the School of Business, whose name was Dick First, to get him to agree to be one of my 3 appointments, at-large appointments, on the board. And he was the first business school dean and the first really top person at the university to serve on the chamber board up to that point. And I think the enhancement of the town-gown relationship, and then obviously the focus on Fayette County school education were the right priorities at that time, and they're the right priorities today.
Our community has a history of turning visions into realities and achieving success in the face of doubt. History tells us that no matter what the obstacles, we can achieve our goals and move our community forward. Even the toughest economic times haven't steered us from success. Things like Keeneland, Bluegrass Airport, IBM and Lexmark, Rupp Arena, Lexington Center, Kentucky Horse Park, Toyota, and the World Equestrian Games were all accomplished during challenging economic climates. Chambers also have a way of transcending generations. During World War I, the Lexington Chamber helped returning soldiers find employment. In 2011, Commerce Lexington participated in the Hiring Our Heroes Job Fair initiative. In June 1927, Chamber leaders organized relief efforts in the wake of storms and flooding in Hazard, Kentucky. Following the ice storm of 2003, the Chamber coordinated a widespread cleanup effort around Lexington. Over the years, the Chamber of Commerce has been known by different names, but its role has always been the same: to create new wealth for our region while improving its quality of life.
Well, you know, it's the one business organization that brings everybody together. We're involved with home builders, we're involved with realtors, there's also the Coal Association, there's all kinds of different ones, but Commerce Lexington brings all of those businesses together, and there's a united voice with that, where they all have their individual niche. This Commerce Lexington is the one that takes on the big issues, and as they should. And so it's very good to have a strong chamber, always.
I applaud those who have led the chamber in the last few years. As I said, 29 years ago, it's hard to remember exactly what we did. But I know one thing, I know Commerce Lexington is good for this community, and it's good for the state.
In talking about the chamber during the annual meeting of 1885, President George W. Rank said, "Let us make it a parliament of the people, in which merchants, lawyers, mechanics, clerks, and everybody can work together to push on our new, wide-awake, and progressive city." The chamber was not intended simply for men of property. Some of the greatest benefactors the world has ever known did not own a foot of ground or a single share of bank stock. Help us, work with us, do something to add to the happiness and prosperity of your city and your people, and it will redound to the benefit of your mind, heart, and pocket. History may define us, but it doesn't constrain us. Our region's best days are ahead. We need you to help write that story.